Hi, I'm Chris Jordan, and in the next two videos we're going to be looking at the BULATS short listening question that focuses on schedules and plans. Now, these are really common in this section of the test, and that's not surprising because many of the things we do together with other people in the workplace require us being in the right place at the right time. Few people work completely alone, so we need to be able to understand when colleagues or customers expect things to be done or when something is going to happen. BULATS ask you to listen for exactly that kind of information. This is often in the form of a brief announcement or a conversation between two people. And the questions will usually ask something like, what time is the meeting, or when does the woman need to be at the airport? However, when you listen, you're going to hear several times or several activities mentioned, not only one. So to be successful, you'll need to listen for the right time or activity. And this will usually be a key point, or one of the key points the speaker wants you to understand as the listener, not just kind of random comprehension. Let's have a try. Now, imagine you're planning to take a factory tour and you hear this announcement.
For those wishing to join the 3:15 tour of the factory, please meet at the reception desk no later than 2:20 with all your documents. Your bus is scheduled to depart at 2:45.
Although it's a short announcement, there are several things happening, and we heard a time for each. In a moment we're going to check this, but first let's look at an important tip for the BULATS listening. It's really important when we're doing the BULATS exam to remember that we need to look carefully at the question and then listen for the same meaning. But this is often not the same word. In this announcement we just listened to, we can see this in two ways. First, in English there are words that are common in announcements or more formal language, but when we're speaking with our colleagues, we might choose a less formal way to say it. So we have words like depart instead of leave. We also use get a lot in spoken English in expressions like get home, get to the office, or get here. But in more formal English, you might hear words like arrive at or reach. Or going somewhere, we might get on public transportation or a plane, which in more formal English could be board. Or we get proceed for go to. And these words are really common in announcements. Before we listen to the announcement again, the second thing we need to be able to do is to identify different ways people might express the time. So, what different ways are there to say these times? Well, we can say 2:10 or 10 past 2, 5:40 or 20 to 6. Now we need to be a little bit careful with that because 2 becomes very soft, 20 to 6. 10:15 or 10:15, 11:45 or 11:45, and 1:30 or 1:30. Now that we've looked at some of the important language we need in order to listen for the right meaning, not just the right words, let's go ahead and listen again. See if you still think your answer is the correct one.
For those wishing to join the 3:15 tour of the factory, please meet at the reception desk no later than 2:20 with all your documents. Your bus is scheduled to depart at 2:45. For those wishing to join the 3:15 tour of the factory, please meet at the reception desk no later than 2:20 with all your documents. Your bus is scheduled to depart at 2:45.
So we're listening for one of the speaker's key messages, the time the bus leaves. How did you go? Can you prove your answer is correct? Well, we did hear all 3 times. 2:20 is when you need to be at the reception desk. The tour is at 3:15, but the bus departs or leaves at 2:45 or 2:45. Well, you can see from this question just how important it is that we're listening for the same meanings rather than the same words. But it's also good as you prepare for BULATS to make a note of words that are more or less formal words for words you already know, as we did earlier with leave and depart. These are going to be very helpful for the BULATS exam and also for dealing with people in English generally. Now, the last thing we're going to look at from this example is also about saying when something is going to happen. If you remember, you need to be at the reception desk no later than 2:20. Well, this means before 2:20. However, there are several other ways we often hear this said in English too, and the most common is by. But you might also hear 2 of these joined together, so by 2:20 at the latest. Well, let's wrap up with another plan. This listing will require you to use some of the language we've just been looking at as the speakers try to work out the best time to do something. So remember everything we've looked at so far, and good luck. Don't forget, you're going to hear the recording twice. What time will the woman catch the taxi?
Hello, reception.
Good morning. Could you help me order a taxi to the airport, please?
Certainly. What time do you need it for?
Well, I want to be there at 9 o'clock, so I was thinking 8:15. Would that give me enough time?
It normally takes less than 45 minutes to get there, so you should be fine.
Thanks very much for your help.
What time will the woman catch the taxi?
Hello, reception.
Good morning. Could you help me order a taxi to the airport, please?
Certainly. What time do you need it for?
Well, I want to be there at 9 o'clock, so I was thinking 8:15. Would that give me enough time?
It normally takes less than 45 minutes to get there, so you should be fine.
Thanks very much for your help.
Well, now you can check the script to confirm your answer. As you see, she needs to be there by 9 and the trip takes less than 45 minutes. So, 8:15 or 8:15 is early enough, and that's the time it's going to be. Being able to understand times and schedules is a really useful skill both for BULATS and for real life. And we hope in this video we've given you a little more confidence in listening for this kind of information. Now, for practice listening to people trying to work out a convenient time to do something, please check out our second video in this series. Thank you for watching, and good luck.